Yo, what's going on YouTube? Cloverbells here, back with another Series 12 video, and this time we're not doing any battle videos. This is not even a team building video. What this is what I like to call a VGC fundamentals video, where I talk about some of the things that go into team building but are not fully discussed when we do a team building video, and it's more or less with the EVs. And this first video is all about what we call EV bumps, or in other words, EV benchmarks. And my disclaimer here is, again, if you're a relatively experienced player who's been playing for a while, this is something that you already know already. This is more catered towards those newer beginner people that are trying to learn how to play VGC, and this is something that they don't know about. And if you've been watching the team building videos, you know I always talk about EV bumps, and I always ask people to comment in the video below if you don't know what an EV bump is. And every time I mention it, somebody always comments, which means there's still plenty of people out there that just flat out don't know what these things are. And I don't blame them, because when you play the Pokemon game itself, there's just nothing in the game that teaches you these things or leads you into how to do these things. And you know that's also one of the issues with competitive play, right? There's just nothing in the main game that leads you or like gives you some kind of tutorial into getting into competitive. You have to go out of your way to discover it and you know, venture it into yourself. But hopefully with the resource of, you know, these YouTube videos, hopefully I can help you out here. So again, we're going to be talking about EV bumps here. So basically, what are these EV bumps or benchmarks, right? So what I like to say is these are points in your main stat. When I say main stat, your natured stat. When you hit these certain bumps, your stat will go up by 2 points instead of 1 point, right? Because when you invest EVs into a Pokemon, the stat increases by 1. But in a natured stat, and we'll explain what that means in a second. In a natured stat, that stat will increase by 2 points instead of 1 at 3 very distinct points. So let's just go ahead and use an example here. So I got Solgaleo on the screen, the lion. So let's just go ahead and pull it up, and we'll see how these EV benchmarks work. I'm going to make it adamant nature, right? So this is where you'll see those distinct EV benchmarks, right? And you're not going to see them anywhere else because the nature is adamant. So if you were to try to look for the bumps in speed, special defense, HP, defense, you're not going to find it. All right, it's only in your natured stat. So how do we do this? If I were to move this slider, there's going to be points where the stat will increase by 2 points. So let's just go through it slowly, and then we'll use some other examples where you can probably try and predict where the bumps are. But again, the general rule is every 80 EVs invested will lead to a bump. All right, so let's just use Solgaleo as an example, and then it'll all make sense and be a little bit more clear. So right now, I have no investment in my attack, and my stat is 172. All right, so there's no EVs investment. So if I invest my first point, now it's 173. Then as I move the slider, it's 174. Then here it is, 176. So this is actually the first what we call EV bump or benchmark. So you see how you skipped 175 and you went straight to 176? Kind of interesting, right? And there's nothing in the main game that will show you this or experience this. This is something that you got to find out on your own. And again, it's every 80 EVs invested. So when's the next benchmark in this natured stat? So you can pause the video and try and guess what it is, and then try and see where the third one is, and I'll give you a few seconds to do that. All right, if you said the second EV benchmark or bump was at 100 EVs invested, you are correct. All right, so let's go ahead and see how that works. So again, I'm still at 176, so I'm just going to keep moving my slider. 177, 178, 179, 180, 181, 182, 183, 184, 185, and here it is, the big 100. Boom, 187, right? You see how you skipped 186 and you went straight to 187? So this is what we call the second benchmark, or in other words, the second bump, because the stat went up by 2 points. okay, instead of 1 point. And again, I'll give you a chance to pause the video again, see where the third and final benchmark is for our adamant natured Solgaleo. Alright, and if you said the third benchmark was at 180 EVs, again, you are correct. So it's always 80 EVs separating between the benchmarks. So the first one was at 20, which means the next one is going to be at 100 EVs, which is where we're at right now. And then 100 plus 80 is 180, which is the third and final benchmark. So if I were to move this slider, again, we're at level 50, so it's 8 EVs. So until I reach 180 here, boom. You see that? My stat went from 196 to 198. All right, I skipped the 197. So this is the third and final benchmark for Solgaleo. Okay, and again, this is only true for the natured stat. If I were to try and do this for, let's say, special defense or speed or whatnot, you're not going to see it. And just to prove it to you, I'll just go ahead and try and fill up the bar right now. Let's just use a special defense here. Or actually, I'll just use speed. So 117, 118, 119, 120, 121, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 131, 132, 133, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, and that's it, right? So there's a perfect example. So you see how every stat in the non-nature stat just went up straight by 1 point? That's right, because you're not in your correct nature to see the bump or to see the benchmark. It's only for the natured stat. And again, when you're trying to EV your Pokemon for competitive play, a lot of players, at least in the beginning, when they're first building their squad, they try and shoot for these little bumps, so this way they don't waste EVs. Because in this case, like, let's say I went to 176, right? And if I 172, and if I left it like this, I feel almost a little triggered, because if I just put in one more attack set of EVs, then I can just get 2 more attack stats on my Solgaleo. And generally, this is what you want to try and do. You want to go for these bumps and these benchmarks, so you get the full bang for your buck when you're trying to EV your Pokemon. Now, will they remain final? That remains to be seen, because later on, when you start testing out your teams and you figure out that you actually need a little bit more bulk and not so much attack, then you have to change your EVs a little bit so that way you can survive certain attacks from certain Pokemon. But that's all later on, right? In the beginning, when you're first trying to build your squad and set things up, you want to take into account these benchmarks. All right, so this way you get the best bang for your buck for your EVs, your speed tiers as well, but we'll leave that for another video. I just want to keep it strictly for the EV benchmarks. When we talk about speed tiers, that's when we'll mention that, but for now we just want to mention the bumps. So hopefully that makes sense. So now let's look at another example here. Let's bring up Kyogre, since he's on the GIF. So Kyogre here, and just for the sake of argument, once again we'll go with the modest nature. And again, Kyogre's EV bumps are not the same as Solgaleo's. All right, it all depends on the natured bar. So first of all, we're going modest. So once again, you saw my demonstration. I'll leave you to try and figure this one out. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can figure out where the 3 benchmarks are for Kyogre in the modest nature. All right, if you said the answers were 76, 156, and 236, you are correct. Those are the 3 bumps for Kyogre here. So let's just go ahead and take a look and just reconfirm those answers that I just said. So here we have no investment. Our stat is 187. Our first point, now we're at 188, 189, 190, 191, 192, 193, 194, 195, 96, and we said the first one was 76, right? Boom, there it is. So you went from 196 to 198. There's the first EV bump, the first benchmark. The second one is another set of 80 EVs. So 76 plus 80 is 156. All right, so let's confirm it. Is that in fact the bump? 199, 200, 201, 202, 203, 204, 205, 206, 207, and then 209. You skipped 208. You see that? That's the next bump here. So, and then the next one, 156 plus 80 is 236. So 210, 211, 212, 213, 214, 215, 216, 217, 218, 220 right here. So you skipped 219 and you went straight to 220. This is the third and final bump. And again, this is only true in the modest nature because that is your natured stat. If I were to change this to timid, all right, now I change where the bumps are. Now you're not going to see any bumps in the modest. You'll see them in timid. So let's just go ahead and see where these are. 122, 23, 4, 5, 6, 7, 28, 29, 30, 32 right here. So at 76 EVs in the timid nature, you get the first bump, which means next one is 156, then 236. All right. And remember, it's not true for every single mon. Like you can't just say, oh, it's going to be 76, 156, 236 for every Pokemon. No, it's not. We just did it with Solgaleo. That was not the case for Solgaleo. For Kyogre, it was, but not for other mons, right? So again, here's the next one. Let me just move it faster. So 141 to 143. You see that? You skipped 142. All right, and then 236. And right here, 151, 152, 154. You skipped 153. So this is your third and final bump. So again, you're getting the hang of this, right? So this is again where these benchmarks are. We'll do one more example. Let's just go ahead and do everyone's favorite sword dog. Let's go Zacian here. Okay, and again, I will make this one adamant. All right, so an adamant natured Zacian. So go ahead, once again, pause the video, see if you can figure out where the bumps are, and we'll reconfirm it in a second. If you said the answers were 76, 156, and 236 again for Zacian, you are correct. So let's just go ahead and confirm that. So once again, I'm just going to move it a little bit quicker now just because we kind of get the hang of it. So 218 to 220, here's the first bump at 76 investment. Now you go to 156. All right, every 80 EVs. So 229 to 231, you see that. And then finally 236, where it is. And there it is right here. So again, this one was the same as Kyogre. But again, you know, it's not always the case. You saw with Solgaleo that it was different. If I were to use something else, like let's say, we'll do a fourth example. All right, let's say, let's go with Regieleki. Okay, and let's go with a modest nature here. Again, I could choose any nature. You know what? Here, for the sake of it, let's just go special defense. Let's just go with this one here. All right, calm natured Regieleki. All right, let's see where these bumps are, and see if it is in fact the same. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Oh, right here. All right, so this one's another one with 76. Okay, now what if I change this to modest nature? Where is this also another one of those? Yep, so 76, 156, and 236. This is another case of those three bumps here. Okay, let's see if we can find one where it's not always 76, 156, 230. Let's pick one more mon. All right, so let's look at Calyrex Ice Rider. So we found one. This is another one that's different than 76, 156, 236. So go ahead and make this one adamant if you want. You could even make it brave. I'll even do that just for the sake of it. And pause the video and again see if you can find the three bumps for the Calyrex Ice Rider. I'll give you a few seconds. All right, if you said the three benchmarks were at 36, 116, and 196, you are correct. So let's go ahead and confirm that. So we'll move the slider one by one. 206, 207, 209 right here. So you see how you went from 207 to 209? You skipped the 208 mark, you went straight to 209. This is the first benchmark, the first bump I like to say. The second one, 36 plus 80, 116. So we'll go ahead and move the slider here, 217, 218, boom, 220. You skipped 219, you see that? So that's the second benchmark, and then what's 116 plus 80? 196, right? Right here. So you went from 229 to 231. And again, you know, this is a very common thing to do. Like when you're trying to make these EV spreads like this, you always want to go for like these benchmarks, especially if you have like a weakness policy. You don't need like full investment in your attack stat. You still might, but you might just say, you know what, I'm getting a boost anyway, and I'd rather just, you know, invest the rest of this into my bulk, like, and do something like this. But how it is we decide like to put the HP and specifically special defense. That's all about damage calcs, and that's all about, you know, trying to optimize your EVs for certain things. But we'll get to all of that in the other videos in the channel. I did not want to make, you know, a full video of optimizing EVs into one video. That's like way too much information. I'd rather break it down piece by piece, so this way, you know, video by video, you can learn something in one video, then watch another video, learn another thing, and this way you have like a whole little playlist of EV basics, EV fundamental basics for competitive play. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Again, if you're interested in learning more about this, feel free to sign up for coaching on the channel. It's a tier 2 sub or even a tier 3 sub. Tier 2 is team fixing, where you submit a team to me and we optimize the EVs based on what I think is relevant in the meta. Or you can do tier 3, which I think is the better tier sub to the channel, where you and me, we sit down in a Discord call and we team build everything, and we do the EVs from scratch, and we talk about all this stuff and a little bit more that you don't see in the YouTube videos. So if you're interested in taking your competitive play or your team building skills to the next level, feel free to sign up for a coaching session with me in the tier subs. But yeah, we'll be back with the next VGC fundamentals video in the next one, guys. Until the next time, peace out.